Announced about 3 years ago, Dragon Quest III HD-2D Remake, I still can't believe they put HD-2D actually part of the title, came to be. A remake of Dragon Quest III, for what I've known is one of, if not the most influential JRPG in all of Japan, and how that even still like Yakuza 0 parodied it, and how popular it was, how people were getting robbed in the middle of the night just to get a copy, or even how when Smash Bros. Added the Hero DLC, the hero from 3 was the one at the big final reveal. So this is definitely a major remake for a major title, more so specifically in Japan, because out of the West, Dragon Quest isn't nearly as popular. The main premise is that you play as the hero whose father actually went out to go after the Archfiend during return, so now it's up to you to set out on a similar journey, this time with a party, because apparently your dad didn't go with the party, in order to set out to go after the Archfiend. While the narrative does sound simple, because it is, there is a lot of stuff they do when it comes to storylines and locations and stuff, so even if the hero and your party don't exactly like talk or speaking roles, they're doing the stuff with the world and the NPCs all throughout. So don't worry about the fact that things are simple, all that. You'll find some cool adventures or cool NPCs around the world on your adventure. So it's pretty fun when it comes to how it handles a narrative and how it handles character interaction. It's pretty cool in that regard. Now, despite being a remake, this game clearly still holds on to its NES/Famicom roots, especially with the way the characters are animated when they walk and move around. But something that I love also from its roots is the NPC chatter you can get. Like, the NPCs will give you directions to locations, they'll give you advice and tips. It just feels like stuff that doesn't happen nowadays with RPGs, where they just give NPC like some fodder dialogue, but here we have NPCs that generally point directions, give you some advice, tell you about some side content stuff to do. So that is like, or if they think it's dangerous, they'll tell you, hey, don't go to insert location in this direction, just stay away from there. And I love that kind of dialogue, and just show like this is going a bygone era where NPCs actually had something worth saying when you talk to them, right, and just surrender flavor text. That is super cool. Something I love about this game, highlights how it's from a bygone era. I want more RPGs to do stuff like that.
Instead of sailing where your heart takes you, I suggest you first head to the lighthouse south of here. It is a place where many travelers gather. You might be able to learn something of use there.
Now on for the gameplay, where at the start, you're able to pick 3 party members to join with you, and you can actually choose what vocation they have, actually what class they have. And the thing I didn't realize was that in the room in this section early in the game, is actually a section where you can actually name your specific party members, get them specific personalities, and specific vocations, which I actually didn't know about. So I was just taking the first 3 people I was offered, which was a priest, a mage, and a warrior. I'm like, oh, that was pretty good, and we just took them. So there actually is more you can do from the start to just pick out what kind of characters you want for your party, which is in fact super cool, and I wish I realized that. There's also a personality system that affects the stat growth they have when they level up. So I've seen people go back and forth on how important this is. I feel like it's very important. Some people feel like it doesn't matter, it's more for min-maxing, trying to get like the best possible character. But generally, I just didn't really pay attention to it and just pretty much went with what I had when it comes to the characters. I noticed it's something from what I've seen Dragon Quest doesn't really do, but I wish there was a turn order or more consistent turns, because there'll be points where in combat where you'll pretty much put in commands, but then the way they play out will just be random, and I just don't like that fact, because it means stuff like when I plan a heal or something like that, or attack, will just either not work or be too early because of the turn order. I really don't like that whole aspect. There are spells you can get to increase and decrease the enemy's turn or increase your party's turn, so there is that can help, but I just wish there was more consistency with the turn order. And also the fact that there are enemies and bosses that also get multiple turns, and you don't know what enemies will get multiple turns, or if they will, because some will get 2 to 3 turns. When I said 2 to 3, means sometimes they'll go twice, sometimes they'll go 3 times, and once again, a lot of stuff feels so random in how it's handled. That's the kind of thing. And some of the fact that even stuff like debuffs can miss. Like, I saw use a debuff and it said enemy not affected, so I thought they were immune to it. No, it's not any enemy can be debuffed stats elements. Actually, the fact that it's dependent on your luck stat, which apparently decides whether or not you get hit by buffs or debuffs typically. And it's just a weird way of doing it with the luck stat of all things, but I don't know, it just feels random, especially when some boss ideas or patterns you think, oh, I didn't use a debuff or a status element, but you can't, because apparently your luck's not good enough, or the enemy's luck is too high, it just doesn't work, and it feels like some things just fall apart, because it feels like a lot of things rely on luck, and not just a stat alone. Luck itself, luck of the player, what's your luck stat?
Assent, and I will abdicate immediately in your favor. So, will you accept the priceless gift I offer? You do not like the idea, perhaps? But how will you know unless you try it?
Midway into the game, you unlock the ability to change vocations, but there comes a drawback. The drawback is the character must at least be level 20, so their stats will be halved, and they'll be reverted back to level 1, meaning it'll take effort to get them back up to where they were, but they'll have higher stats than they were the first time if you do so. Plus, the personality system, you'll be able to then shape their stats even better to be more fit for a new vocation. My problem with this is the fact that you keep all your skills, so you're incentivized to want to get as many skills as possible, with some vocations not pretty much still giving you skills or up to level 40. So that'll be way too late in order to change vocations to change what the character does. And something I wanted to do was change my mages to be a more physical class, have better defense, and I'll just get smacked and die in 1 to 2 hits. But it ended up taking so long to do so that I wasn't even sure it was even worth it when I eventually did. At that point, they reached like level 40. I wasn't sure whether or not to keep them in their specifically spell-based vocation or then change them. So it takes so long. I like the idea of being able to keep your skills and pile on more skills, but the whole entire freaking reversion of the levels, the stats specifically, is not even worth it at times. Just keep going. You also can't do this for the hero, so clearly it's not something like a necessity thing to have to change your vocation if the hero is able to basically just keep the stats and stuff the way they are throughout the entire adventure. It's just a weird way of handling it, where I feel like there's way more drawbacks and wanting to use it just had way more hesitation. It's just so weird. Also the fact that there's one vocation that's actually hidden, that you either need a special item or you need to use a certain vocation I got about in order to then get it. But then there's ways people use it that don't able to go back and forth on tips. Like people say, oh, you should use this vocation for a spell-based vocation person you have, or no, use on the physical person because they'll get more benefit. So there is a way more customization, but also feels like things weren't fully fleshed out when it came to vocation changing and how this game works. I do really like is also how abilities you get also affect more than just combat. Like the fact that, hey, the merchant, you get more money at the end of a battle. Oh, look, freaking with the mage spell, Peep, you can actually see the treasure chest to see if they're mimics or not beforehand. So before you get jumped, you're able to know which was a real treasure chest or not, which is a super cool thing. Monster Regular, the more monsters you recruit, the more powerful it gets, which is also cool. It also allows you to recruit monsters for the monster arena. So there's more stuff you can do with the whole entire world with your vocations. That's cool stuff like that that feels really nice to how to handle it. What's really cool with this game is that while it is linear for the most part, there is an entire section where you have to just get like these plot items, and you can do it in like, I feel like any order you want, because the game just says, hey, freely roam, look around, go do what you want. You can get them any order, including fighting more powerful bosses early on than the more weaker ones later, so stuff like that. Like, there is some cool exploration how the game lets you just decide which direction you want to go at times, to just do what you want to do, and that I think is super cool. Especially this game was, especially they had this feature with an NES version. I know things were added into this remake, but if the original version of Dragon Quest III even had like half the stuff this remake had, that is super cool, and I can see why this game freaking popped the hell off in Japan. I'm actually more surprised it didn't pop off everywhere. That's super cool and amazing. Now my biggest gripe with this game, the boss battles. Because there's several boss battles that feel like they are infinitely more powerful than the dungeon they reside in, and it feels so lopsided. You also have some bosses that, okay, they have a strat of stuff such as, oh, use a status element, but then the status element will then just be removed the turn after you put it on, or the same turn. If it's used on you, the status element stuff for several turns, but on a boss, it's barely there, or the freaking ailment could just miss, or it can miss because your luck's not good enough. Literally in the game, it looks that. So it just feels weird how bosses are handled, because they feel way more powerful than anything else you're doing. And while it does, I guess, probably sense a challenge, it also feels like I'm trying to pretty much bash my head to a brick wall and just hoping I make it to the other side, you know? Like, boss battles just, for the most part, just don't feel fun to do in this game. It feels like anything I try to do basically will fail because, oh, my bad luck, I'm in bad luck, will just screw me over. And it just feels incredibly weird. Even when people give advice on the boss battles, they generally aren't helpful. Like when I say Dragon Quest fans, they're not helpful giving advice in this game. But despite that, they'll still act smugly about being Dragon Quest 3 know-it-all. I don't understand. But just boss battles, I just don't like boss battles most of the time. It just feels so more powerful than anything else in the dungeon. It just felt annoying to do, and I just don't like them because any strat I do may work or may just get screwed over and not work. And I think I'm doing something wrong because I'm doing something right, and in my luck stat in the game, it's not good enough for what I'm trying to do. Or the monster regular needs to get 50 to 100 monsters recruited. Some people say, I don't know, man. I don't know about these monsters. I don't know. Second biggest gripe will have to be its entire section towards the game's finale, which feels like didn't really have much of a purpose gameplay-wise, because a lot of it is just filled with people not knowing what the characters are looking for and basically just pointing them in random directions. But it feels like they always pick the longest destination from where you're starting at, just so you get the most random encounters. Like, it's not like a dungeon, it's like an overworld, but it's like, nah, go on the other side of this map in order to get the thing you're looking for. Oh, it's not here. Let me go to this other side of the map, and it's like, feels like I'm just being dicked around here, kind of thing. I just don't like that Overture aspect of it, because it feels like they don't have an idea for this section. It just decides to basically just the players be spam at random encounters in the overworld, and I just don't like that part of the game. They want to mention my one gripe with the game's text, and that's specifically only in these very specifically handled cutscenes where character will be talking to you, but there'll be no background for the text. Like throughout the game there'll be like text boxes for all the dialogue, but then very rarely there'll be some special cutscenes where there is no text box for the character talking, so it can make the text hard to read, especially since it's usually done in like a brighter area. There's one spot I can't show, can only happen in the game's ending, but the game had like a sepia tone background, and then the text on top of it that's just like impossible. Nope, I can't read any of that. Why are we doing this like this? But overall, there's generally a black box for all the text in the game, so it's very nice to read, I feel. Overall, I just really like Dragon Quest HD-2D Remake. Like, if the game had like even like half, 75% of the stuff in this game it did in the original version, I can 100% see why this game just took off in Japan and Dragon Quest became the de facto RPG series in Japan. Like, it is freaking fun. Exploration, maybe just able to decide where you want to do things is cool. The way the little side stories to the towns are handled, the way characters direct you to locations to go to. Like, there is also a little thing you can do in order to freaking be able to tell what's the next plot location to go to, or you can turn it off if you want to. There's an option for it. But it's just super cool what they did with this game, and it's just a super cool game. Like, my gripes are pretty much not nearly as big compared to just how fun it is to play this game and explore and find cool new stuff and all the stuff you can do in this game. Like, I can see, like I said, I can see why this became such a big RPG series in Japan, and it's super cool to decide to remake it, and the fact that the popularity, or more sense, the anticipation of this made Square Enix decide to announce, hey, we're also remaking Dragon Quest 1 and 2. So that is super cool, that is super amazing. Like, I can see why Japan loves this game so much. I can see why it became with the face of RPGs in Japan. That's super cool, and I hope it takes off just as well in the West, because yeah, this series deserves more love worldwide.